of joint practices. So, joining me now, two guys who I think do a great job talking Giants, literally, punly, everything. Hosts of Talkin Giants, part of the John Boy Media Group, are Bobby Skinner and Justin Penik. Do a great job there. If you haven't caught their podcast, if you're a person looking for even more Giants content, they are the place to go. On top of my own stuff here, of course, on WFAN. Justin, Bobby, happy Giants Sunday to you guys. Welcome on the fan. What's going on?
What's going on, Sean? It's good to be on. It's good to be on the fan. I'm down here in Florida, but I wish I was in New York and New Jersey, the best two states in the nation. So I'm missing out today.
And that's the voice of Bobby Skinner. And I believe we have Justin Penik from the parking lot at MetLife. Justin, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, parking lot K-12. I'll be making my way to Lot L in a little bit after this. But parking lot K-12 is my home. Sean, I'm really upset that we're not in person together, so I can't get distracted by your unevenly shaved eyebrows. But thank you for having us on. It's a pleasure to join you on the fan and Giants home, the home for Giants football.
Yeah, and don't get too nervous here, but our buddy Art Stapleton has alerted me. We are already blaring through the speaker system all through the concourse at MetLife. So shout out to George at the urinal looking to make a decision between meatball sandwiches and burger sliders later at MetLife. We are there. So anyway, boys, let's get right into it. First of all, Justin, parking lot scene setter. Obviously, it's not a regular season tailgate. Is there palpable buzz among the charcoal smell at MetLife right now, or does this just look like FanFest?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a pretty crazy person who decides to park all the way by the Quest Diagnostics facility, the furthest parking lot that you can park. But I will tell you what, even just going back to the Jet game, stadium was pretty packed, and even right now, there is energy out here. I see a lot of tents. I see a lot of people that are out here right now. So I'm a crazy person who likes to park far away. But really, just in general, there is energy around the Giants this year, and really the energy, I think it comes from Joe Judge. It comes from Saquon being on another year, being back, and also just fans being generally back in general. So certainly the energy is 100% here at MetLife right now.
All right, so Justin, we'll get to you in a second because you were in attendance for both joint practices with the Patriots. But, Bobby, you are, in my opinion, the best person outside of maybe Brian Baldinger at breaking down Giants' offensive line film tape. This has been an ongoing storyline of the fan, an ongoing story on this show. Giants offensive line panic meter. I am on the optimistic side of everything I've seen from Andrew Thomas, Will Hernandez, and Nick Gates has not been talked about enough in a positive light. Instead, the negative, which has been Matt Peart at times at right tackle this camp, is something that's really had a light shined upon it. What should Giant fans be looking for, and what do you think is best case and worst case scenario tonight versus the Pats with the first team offensive line in there?
Yeah, I feel good, obviously, about Andrew Thomas and Nick Gates. I feel good about. I think Andrew Thomas is going to be really good this year. Nick Gates is going to continue to get better. Will Hernandez, there's a baseline of okay for him. He's not perfect. He's not what he was drafted to be at 34, but I feel like a baseline of okay. Right tackle scares the crap out of me. Nate Solder was the worst tackle in the league in 2019 when he played. Now he's coming back after missing a year. He bothered his shoulder in practice, playing, moving to right tackle. And then the guy who's supposed to start, Matt Peart, has he has all the ability in the world, but he's got serious issues. So I am worried about that right tackle position. You'd be crazy to not be worried. And that can, if that right tackle spot is bad, that can really mess with the season, mess with Daniel Jones, regardless of what the offense looks like. And then left guard, Shane Lemieux, he's got a lot to improve on, but man, watching Kenny Wiggins and Ted Larson out there makes you want to give a max contract to Shane Lemieux because it looks tough. So obviously those guys aren't supposed to be starters anyways, but I'm not panicked, but I am worried about the O-line.
Yeah, so what do you think is worst case and best case scenario? Do you think that we can only come out of this feeling more negative about the offensive line tonight, or do you think that there will be a sense tonight there's at least an opportunity if Peart isn't blown up where people put their head on the pillows tonight and say, you know what, Giants offensive line might be okay this year?
Yeah, if Peart goes out there and does that first sack versus the Jets, he bounced back well after that. If he plays the way he did after that for 4-5 series or say they play the first half and he doesn't have any glaring mistakes, not perfect, but no huge bad mistakes are okay, that's not translating and we're 2 weeks away from the season. Then that would be Matt Peart will have some bad games, but he's not going to be a train wreck who's going to destroy the season. But and then you'd be feeling worse if Matt Patrick gives up like a sack and a couple hits or something like that, and that would put me into like full panic mode.
Yeah, that to me feels like the Giants can basically have a field goal fest tonight. Daniel Jones can't fumble the ball if Matt Peart getting blown up tonight, or I think panic meters set in. We are talking about Bobby Skinner and Justin Penik here on the Fan, the guys from Talkin Giants, part of the John Boy Media production company. All right, Justin, you went up. You were at both joint practices with New England this week, so you saw this team in person. Coach F-bombs dropping galore. Obviously, the first day reports out of camp weren't great. The second day reports, much like Cleveland, were much better. What was your level? What's a better way to phrase this? Do you have more of a level for concern about the Giants to your optimism after seeing them in person for 2 days, or more of how you felt going in remains the same?
More or less the same feeling I had going in, because obviously the big storyline heading into this year is the offense, right? The offense is the offense, the offense. Can we score points? Can we score points? And really why I'm concerned about the offense, Shaun, I heard you talking throughout the entire show so far. The main reason for concern of the offense should be not because they're having a bad or a good training camp or they're having bad or good preseason games. It should just be because they were the 31st offense last year. They were the 31st ranked offense last year. That's why you should be concerned. But some of the things that I saw, this is just kind of like a big macro point to start. It was really cool to see Joe Judge and this coaching staff engage with the players. Everybody loves Joe Judge. We're all big Joe Judge guys. And it was really cool to see him and his staff engage with the players, because the way that the fans were set up, the fans were actually way closer than the media members were and the beat reporters were. The fans were a lot closer, and you were able to hear Jerome Henderson, who's the D-backs coach, really, really coaching up his players. Rob Sale really yelling at his players, get on the line, hustle. And that kind of stuff is stuff that you don't really get at Quest Diagnostics, even when fans are allowed in, because there's a little bit more of a divide. So it was really, really cool to see how they engage with the players and how much teaching is happening all at one time. So that's at least a big point to start, where I just enjoyed that from a fan perspective.
All right, Bobby, Justin, I guess I'll go to Bobby first. This training camp has been fascinating. I think everybody, if you're a Giant fan, if you're somebody that covers the Giants or somebody that talks about the Giants for a living, we all do the same thing in mid-July, right? You make your expectation for who you think is going to be on the 53, and then by the end of it, you're always surprised, or maybe you're not as surprised when the cuts come, but you were surprised, 2 weeks in, you're like, wow, maybe this guy isn't being used as much as we thought. Who is the guy both of you guys look at entering tonight on the roster bubble that you are stunned we are here for a roster bubble situation, and you are leaning towards, wow, I really thought they were going to be in my 53, but I honestly think they're getting cut? Bobby, let's start with you.
I think it's Ifeadi Odenigbo, the DN they got out of the Vikings, who had like 10.5 sacks over the last 2 years. And I remember when they signed him, I was like, okay, he's going to play like a B.J. Hill role. Like he's going to, he moves inside a little bit. But they decided they're going to put him at outside linebacker, and he's never played coverage, which is huge for Patrick Graham. And, like, the 2 preseason games, he hasn't looked really good at all. He's, like, seems to be behind Nico Lalos and Trent Harris on the roster bubble, and he doesn't do any special. So I would think it'd be Ifeadi Odenigbo.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, last year was Ryan Connolly. We were going nuts. Bobby, is there a guy besides Ifeadi that you now think, man, I think he's getting cut, and I'm stunned because I didn't think he would be at the beginning of camp?
Well, here's one. Wasn't even the beginning of camp. Is when they traded Isaac Udom for Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
Now I have people telling me, like, oh, he's going to be cut. Like, what are you talking about? Isaac Udom was supposed to be our first backup off the bench at corner. And so you said we're blaring at MetLife so the beat reporters can hear this. When they tell me that they're going to cut Josh Jackson, it, like, blows my mind that they're doing that. Like, what do you traded, like, who is
for
Rodarius
a flyer?
Williams
They traded Yadam for a flyer. Is that basically what they did because they believe in Rodarius Williams that much to be the first man up?
But how can you believe in Rodarius that much yet? And Marjay Harper, Sam Beal, like Cross is a purely special teams player. Like who are they going to put out there? Like Yadam was the worst starter on a good defense, but he's not like trash. Like he had a bad play yesterday versus.
Right.
Bills,
I mean, yes, yes. You could get by. If they never traded for Adoree Jackson, my thoughts on the Giant defense, I would still have high hopes for them, and I would be under the assumption, like, all right, I don't love Yadam, but he'll be fine. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is interesting. But Justin, you got a guy you think's going to get cut here after this last preseason game that you wouldn't have expected preseason?
Josh Jackson was one of the first guys that came to my head, but also, I don't want to talk about David Sills extensively because he could have a really, really good night tonight.
We've already had a David Sills Army call, if you listen, Justin. We already had one.
I know, you know what, and I don't want to get in trouble with the David Sills Army, so I'm not going to say him. But a guy that I am going to say is B.J. Hill. Even though I don't necessarily agree with it, because the way that the Giants use a guy like R.J. McIntosh, which a lot of fans, I'm sure you're listening to this, who? R.J. McIntosh would always be the sixth interior defensive lineman who would be the healthy scratch every single year for the last 2 years for the Giants. But he made the team, and a guy who's really showing out this preseason is Raymond Johnson, number 91. You got to have some guts to be a defensive lineman. We're number 91, but Raymond Johnson's been certainly performing really well, undrafted free agent this preseason. So the Giants are a little cap-stricken right now, and if they do cut B.J. Hill, that may create some sort of cap space when we come down to the 53. Raymond Johnson could fill that spot as a pass-rushing interior defensive lineman. So B.J. Hill, he's a guy that can possibly be cut because the Giants are cap-stricken, and they may need to make some sort of move or a trade for an interior offensive lineman that may require some extra cap space.
This is Shaun Morash on The Fan, getting you set. Giants and Pats pregame coming up at The Fan. On The Fan at 5:05 p.m., we got Justin Penik and Bobby Skinner from Talkin Giants joining us, setting the scene now. All right, boys, so on that note, you bring up the offensive line and freeing up the cap space if Bobby Hill is one of those guys, B.J. Hill is one of those guys that gets cut. You just see today the Jets take a sixth-round pick and pick off that carcass that is the Texans and getting a Shaq Lawson. To me, it would make zero sense if the Giants target somebody they know they want that is a fringe player getting cut somewhere else that's an interior offensive lineman. You just got a seventh-round pick for Ryan Santoso. You know they're getting a pick of Santoso will be on that team for at least 2 games. The Giants better be active, and Gettleman better be able to continue to be Mr. Trade Gettleman instead of Dave Gettleman. Go make a move and don't just sit back there for roster cuts. I have zero issue, like they did with Crossan, trading another late-round pick. They got 11 picks next year. Go get yourself an offensive lineman to help this depth big time. Wouldn't you say so, Bobby?
Yeah, for sure. And, there was a guy now. I don't think this guy would have made the team anyways, but, Lamont Gaillard, who the Bengals, who are ahead of them in the waiver wire, claimed him. But the Giants started to claim him. That was, a few weeks ago. You have 11 draft picks. Go through a mock draft and do 11 draft picks. That's a freaking ton. So, yeah, I would say find the guy that you want. Call every single team on Monday and be like, which interior offensive lineman are you cutting? And then come back and offer whatever for whichever one you want the most. Because Kenny Wiggins and Ted Larson can't be their first guys off the bench. If Shane Lemieux were to be hurt for real, Jonathan Harrison would have to be the starter instead of Kenny Wiggins.
Right.
So yeah, they're
Nick Gates, the guard or something like that. Right. Exactly. Then that becomes an enormous problem. All right. Now back to this. And Justin, you were the guy who mentioned David Sills, so I will say this. I don't know where you guys fall, and I'd be interested in the fan base after this interview at 877-337-66. They have now used traded draft picks for a guy like Crossan. Cam Brown has been a stud on special teams, so of course I have no problem him making the team. But let's all be real here. The kick return game in the NFL has completely died. If we are going above and beyond keeping a guy with the talents like Dante Pettis or David Sills to have C.J. Board on this team because he doesn't fumble on kick returns? It's not like he's out there like Devin Hester and on coverage. Do you guys have a problem with maybe overvaluing special teams too much to keep a guy where we can let another guy with a ton of talent go end up being maybe a very useful piece offensively somewhere else?
Yeah, obviously special teams are important, so you got to have some of those. You can't just be no special teams matter. But it gets to a point where it's okay, Crossan's a solely special teamer. Cam Brown's a solely special teamer. Then you have your fullback Elijah Penny. He's going to play special teams. Carter, a lot of guys who play special teams. So yeah, and I don't want to cross the David Sills army because they're stronger than the Taliban right now. So I don't want to get on their bad side. All
right, what do you got, Justin?
Yeah, and this is also partially a fan bias. We're all fans here, and special teams sometimes just isn't fun. Just show me a fan and show me a guy who's paying attention and is breaking down the all 22 of special teams like a special teams coordinator is. I guarantee you can't find a lot of fans who do it. And also, who's more exciting when there's a wide receiver 5 or a wide receiver 6 on the field if you need him for a play or if somebody goes down for an injury? Is a guy like John Ross or David Sills more exciting, or is C.J. Board more exciting, where he's just going to be a possession guy? But a guy like, take John Ross, for example. I know we haven't seen him, and where is he? He's ready to rock and roll for week 1. He's got guaranteed money, so I think he's making the team. If you put John Ross on the football field, that's a guy you have to account for because he has that insane speed. He has an insane straight-line speed versus C.J. Board, just it's boring, again. And I hate to have that for biased perspective as a fan. Special teams just doesn't excite me. So that's why it also excites me that the Giants have some 11 draft picks next year Because let's face it, they're going to use one or two of those draft picks for special teams. So guess what? If 9 of them can be used for players that the Giants actually do believe in, that's not special teams, I'm all for it. But you saw this year, Gary Brightwell was a 6th-round pick. He was basically a special teamer, and then that leaves you only 5 players where you think that they have a shot to rock and roll, and I think all of them are basically hurt so far to start this camp.
And 3 receivers are hurt right now. So it's like you kind of need a little bit of wide receiver depth too, but, you know. And it's like one of the healthy guys is Sterling Shepard, who's always hurt.
It's unbelievable. This special teams better be the best special teams in football, the way they have absolutely loaded up. All right, so one more for Bobby and for Justin each. We'll start with Justin. Bobby, you follow him. Other than the headline tomorrow morning being Yankees win another series, the headline coming out of tonight's Giants-Pats game from a Giants perspective will be, Justin, you give it to us.
I want to win, first of all, and I'm not expecting
I don't think you know how to play this game, Justin.
A headline.
A headline, not I want to win.
Shaun, you should know me. I'm not a man of a few words. Giants win 20-14, look ahead to beating Teddy Bridgewater and the Pat Shermer reunion.
Okay, all right. That's
like a Michael Scott headline.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby, give me some juice here, Bobby. Give me some juice.
All right, so they're playing the Patriots. Gosh, I would love to. Joe Judge and Daniel Jones shine, and versus familiar foe. Simple.
Okay. Boom. All right. So you think both positive stuff tonight. We're going to wake up and we're going to, at the least, feel a little positive. We won't be feeling like we got run through a train because Matt Peart got blown up.
Well, let me know. Giants do preseason record. Giants win 77-0. That'll be my
headline.
Boom.
All right. There we go.
Boom.
And that'll be more noteworthy than the Ravens winning 20 straight. All right. If you liked what you heard from the Talkin Giants boys, anywhere podcasts are downloadable, check out Talkin Giants at Bobby Skinner _. And I say this sincerely. If you are looking for Giants offensive line breakdown, Bobby is the best at it. He really does clip great videos on Twitter. If you're a fan of any of the Baldinger stuff, the Baldy breakdowns, Bobby does a lot of the similar work. Justin Penik does a great job as well at Justin Penik, where you could follow him on Twitter. I tweeted it out at Mraz CBS for this spot. Justin, go enjoy the tailgate parties. Bobby, enjoy Florida weather. We will catch up hopefully again down the road in the season, and hopefully the Giants are not a disaster and we're not eliminated by Halloween, and we could all have a nice start to the year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Talking Giants versus the world. Tim from Florida.
All right, there they are. A little something different. I wanted to do a little something different, and we love all of our Giants reporters who do a great job. I mentioned Art Stapleton texted me a little while ago. Jordan Renaud does a great job. Obviously, Pat Leonard.